I I love this game, and I only ever 100% the games I really love. Um, I'm 100% in this game, which means I gotta win this. I've made it to the boss fight 2 times now. I think I can do it. Um, Sometimes it helps if I'm not really thinking about it, and then I'm just reacting, like Ultra Instinct. So I wondered what would happen if I just turned on the record button and I just tried this. I don't know. Because I was playing this, trying to get it. Dang it. It's a bad run. I was trying to get it, but then I started thinking about other things, and I realized that I was reacting anyway, and I was somehow doing really well. I don't know, there are examples like that other times in my life where multitasking has helped, because, I don't know, like, it's hard to do commentary, it's hard to talk over gameplay. I think that's the reason I had such a difficult time recording that second episode of The World Next Door, because it's just too hard to talk over the puzzles, so I don't think I'm going to continue that. I think I'm just going to do whatever I want. But when, I think that sometimes, when you don't have to think about what you're trying to say, then it's easy to multitask, or not necessarily easier. Sometimes it just comes more naturally. Because I can just distract myself, and then I only have to worry about whether or not I see a blue dot approaching the front of my character's face, and I don't have to overthink it, because I overthink a lot of things sometimes. Very lateral thinker. I'm big on neurotyping. I love it. I'm not sure I love how much people on the Reddit call each other normies and simps based on neurotypes. I don't like that, because that's basically, it's like segregation, like, through the internet. Oof, that was unfortunate. I'll try again. I feel like neurotyping is that thing invented by Digibro and or Digini. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'll accept whatever it is. I don't know. I guess I'll refer to Digi as she or they, because they have like this collective thing going on now. I wish they would do more with it, because it's such a genius invention, such a genius idea. And I feel like it's true. I feel like nobody's really thought too hard, or at least not so far as I know, about lexical and impressionistic thought. And because the way I am the most laterally thinking person I know. I've got ADHD, so like ADHD and autism are associated with lateral thinking. And I just get distracted very easily. And to me, lateral thinking, I'm not sure, because I watched part of, well, I'm going to continue watching it. I watch in bits, that's how I watch YouTube mostly, of Digi's Lateralis video, and I was kind of not sure I agreed with the scene of Digi driving and talking at the same time and saying that that was a demonstration of lateral thought, because technically I guess it is, because linear thought separate from linear thinkers, since anyone is capable of anything. Linear thought is the act of focusing on your task, focusing on what's in front of you, focusing on the moment you're in. So technically, you are laterally thinking, in order to multitask like I'm doing right now. But that's not, it's not that like multitasking is what defines lateral thinkers. Because the way I think, you might mistake me for a linear thinker, because I have trouble entering new thoughts into my mind. When someone tries to interrupt me and introduce a new thought, I'm like, wait. But this is only sometimes. This is with serious things like problems I'm trying to solve. But it's not so much because I'm linear and I need to focus on one thing at a time. It's because I already have 100 thoughts going in and out of my brain at all times. Because I had I guess I don't remember whether she was a teacher or just a librarian, but in like middle school, we were working with like a teacher, and she was saying that it's actually impossible to completely multitask. And at the time, I didn't agree, but now I'm starting to think that I agree more with her, because I think that multitasking isn't thinking of two things at the same time. It's thinking of multiple things at the same time. It's thinking of multiple things like in rapid succession, like back and forth. Like right now, let's say I take it takes 1% of my, or like 2% of my thoughts to press the up and down arrows and avoid a shiny blue energy orb. It's not that I'm using 98% of my thoughts to talk and then 2% to move. I'm going back and forth, but I think lateral thought means the ability or the detriment to switch between thoughts so quickly that it seems like you're doing two things at the same time. That's what I think lateral thought is about. It's about, yeah, I guess it is multiple trains of thoughts, but it's more like possessing multiple trains of thought, but you aren't necessarily using those trains of thoughts all at once. You're switching between them. I also like this one video, the grid theory on lateral and linear thinking, because it's really it really sheds light. It's basically, the way it works is that instead of trains of thought, I wish I could remember the person who made the video, but the person who made this theory said that lateral and linear thoughts, they think of them more as a grid, and the grid expands. So it's like you got your core thought you're on right now. Shake my arm. Core thought you're on right now, and the related surrounding thoughts. And the farther out you go, the less relevant or less obvious those thoughts get. And I think that's more like a more accurate description of linear and lateral thinking. Because it's not like you're thinking about all of those related or unrelated thoughts at once. It's that you're swapping between them. Sorry. That I was just so disappointed that I interrupted my train of thought. See, like right there, then I entered a new thought, then I went back to the old one, but then I immediately jumped back into this discussion on that demonstration. So I think that's a lateral thought in motion. I don't know, I think I've gotten my point across on lateral and linear. So while we're on the subject, I might as well talk about impressionistic and lexical thinking. I'm definitely, I'm very lateral and I'm fairly impressionist. That was very disappointing what I just did, but fairly impressionist because my thoughts are all these vague impressions, but I like to categorize them. To me, well, I have a friend who got pretty mad at me when I shared the this neurotyping like idea with him, because I neurotyped a bunch of my friends, and some of them I got more right than others. But this guy, I thought he was fairly linear, very impressionist, like 100%, like hyper impressionist. But I think afterwards, now he's a little bit more lateral, but he's definitely impressionist, because the thing he said to me, and I'll have a hard time forgetting it, or forgetting my impression of it, because he was saying how he was just a little annoyed because it seems like I like to categorize people and put them in boxes, and who wants to be in a box? And that's just the most impressionist thing I think I've ever heard. Wow, that was disappointing too. And whoops, I just swapped off of my tab. And I think that I think that that was the misunderstanding between us. Is I'm slightly more lexical than he is, and to me, I don't think people should be put in boxes. I just like to throw ideas out there. To me, it's like the world is like a big, complex puzzle, but the things that connect us aren't like logical systems. They're emotions. They're invisible things. What's that Little Prince quote that I found in another episode? That which is essential is invisible to the eye. And I think it's that I just throw things out there. I throw connections out there, and I don't limit myself, or I can, but I don't limit myself to my limitations. I'm able to adapt my thoughts as necessary, and my opinions as necessary, I should think. There's something, I'd say my, the amount of passion for something does not mean that I will always agree with that thing I'm passionate about. And it's like that little bit of lexicality in my brain, that like 30% lexicality, that makes me want to try and find the right things. And I don't know. I'm also not very happy with the term fascinator. That's the term for someone who is very lateral and fairly impressionist. I just don't like it. I think it's dumb and it's lazy. First of all, because like everyone's fascinating in their own way, and I won't apologize for sounding like a hippie. It's just a fact. Everyone can be fascinated by anyone can be fascinated by anyone, and that's just the way things are. So to be whoops, that was a misclick. To like label, and I understand that like words are an approximation, but to label a category like fascinators, that's like, that doesn't tell me anything. And also, why is my way of thinking being defined by how someone else thinks of me? It just doesn't make any sense. I been thinking about it a lot. I like wanderers. Maybe it's a little close to like the problem with middle managers and also bookkeepers, to be honest, is that like it's kind of a role. Like you don't have to wonder to be very lateral and fairly impressionist. But I feel like it's good, because the thing is that human calculators, I think that's a good term for very lateral, very lexical, because everyone knows what a human calculator is. Everyone has that, like, well, everyone who speaks English and understands that idiom. It's like, you know that, like, those characters that can just, like, come up with all kinds of thoughts on the fly. I just snapped, and it was terrifying, because I took my hand off of the arrow keys. Dang it, what was I saying? And, everyone knows what a human calculator is. They're people who have all these thoughts going on in their brain, and like they could tell you exactly what something is, these crazy definitions. Maybe they aren't able to bend their way of thinking, but like everyone knows what a calculator is. So, like a human calculator, it's just a really smart person. And they don't have to be good at math, they just have to be able to relate. In the same way a calculator is good at math, a human calculator is can calculate other thoughts that, like, because, I mean, like, lexical people can be lexical about emotions. But back to my point, it's that human calculators to analysts, the connection is that the analysts are just impressionist enough, because they're very lateral, fairly lexical. They're just impressionist enough to not have everything categorized in their brain. So they are sort of like, they are ones to question, like, their already existing thoughts, maybe, because they put that impressionist thought into their lexicons. So, like, I feel like it's that relation to someone who's super lexical to someone who's like fairly lexical, is that difference of having that flexibility to go out and analyze things, to combine impressionist and lexical thought to come up with new ideas. And okay, new types, very lateral, very impressionist. I have grievances with the fact that it's a Gundam reference first, actual descriptor second. But I feel like it also does its job, kind of, because from new type, I can get an impression on what that means. There are people who their thoughts aren't like organized or typical. They have all these thoughts going on in their brain. They're a new type of thinking. They don't stick to what already exists. They don't stick to things that are sensible. So I have grievances with the term new type, but it's fine. It's not as bad as fascinator. But I feel like the extension of a new type, adding that little bit of lexicality to a new type, does not give you a fascinator. It gives you a wanderer, someone who has all these impressionist thoughts, like, in their brain, but then they have that little bit of lexicality that makes them want to apply labels to things. And, like, in the same way an analyst combines lexical and impressionist thought, I feel like a wanderer really shows that, like, all this wonder that we might have for other things, to go out and learn about them and seek about them. It's the fact that we fascinate others is not as telling as the fact that we are fascinated so often with the world, and we understand. I shouldn't speak for everyone. I haven't talked to other fascinators about this, because I'm lonely. I'm a lonely extrovert. But like, we have that fascination to not stick to lexicons or to stick to impressions. We can mix them, and that's my grievances with fascinator. I'm not big. Well, I'm like super not big. I'm very small, you could say, on bookkeepers. I don't like it. I want to call them articulate. And because, like, that makes sense, right? You're articulated, you're focused. Because lexical people, hyperlexical thinkers are all articulate, for the most part. But like, when you're very linear as well, that articulation is taken to the next level. And I feel like that's a lot better than bookkeepers. Bookkeepers is pretty dumb. I feel like it's a stereotype, I guess you could say. But by far the one that I have the most problem with is fairly linear, very impressionists. Like, you don't need the word impressionist on that chart again. So, but then the answer is so obvious to what you could call them. Just call them intuitive, because intuition is another word for an impression. You have an intuition about something, you have an impression about something. And, dang it. I feel like that's so obvious, and I don't know why they were called impressionists. Anything else to say about neurotyping? I wonder if maybe I should post this video on the Reddit. I just got into Reddit because of neurotyping. I've never done any Redditing before. So I don't have very many posts, and I'm only following a few places, but yeah, it was nice. My first post on r/neurotyping was me complaining about everybody calling each other simps and normies, because it just doesn't make any sense. It's really bad. Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna like post this to a neurotyping thing, maybe I should keep my thoughts relevant to neurotyping, so I should try not to wander, otherwise there'd be no point like posting this. Because I kind of want to keep going until I win, or until my roommate comes in and because I don't want him to see me talking to myself, even though I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to the camera. But yeah, the idea for this video was like me first, like people who want to watch it besides me second. Let me think. What would I'd like for Digi to make more videos about neurotyping, because they said that they'd make. I mean, like, Digi can do whatever they want. It's totally fine. But it's just a little bit disappointing that like Digi had plans to talk about flow states and I think it was also psychopathy was mentioned, like how those things how they appear, or what was the word? They I don't know, how they appear in different neurotypes. And I feel like that would be super interesting. I don't know anything about flow types or psychopathy. So I'm not sure I would like to talk about those, but I'm just imagining what, if I were Digi, I would totally want to make. Maybe talk about, I don't know. Definitely, if I was Digi, I would change Fascinators to Wonders and Impressionists to Intuitive, that's for sure. Maybe I should talk more about like how my life is explained by neurotyping, because I know I've had ADHD, and like I'm just super I'm like super lateral. I'm pretty impressionist. I have all these impressions that my friends, actually I have a lot of friends that are more impressionist than I am, but yeah, it's like hard for us to communicate through those impressions. Because when I'm in because like it's sometimes about mood. When I'm in the impressionist like mode, because I have two modes. I have new type leaning and analyst leaning. When I'm like 50% impressionist or 75% impressionist, and I don't know. I feel like neurotyping is a good tool for understanding one another. I was watching Nico B's live streams of Grim Fandango, and Nico B is I would say is definitely, or not definitely, but I'm pretty sure very linear, fairly impressionist, clear-sighted. Maybe leaning on that externalist, but I feel like linear and impressionist is the way I'm thinking about Nico B, but Nico B live streamed Grim Fandango a long time back. I mean, not too long, but I was watching the old live stream videos that I never got back to, and the people who made Grim Fandango, they're very, very impressionist, and it's awesome. And one moment stuck out to me in particular where there was a character in Grim Fandango that was based on a member of the team, and that member of the team, she one day she came in with like a graph, and she was like, look at this graph I've made. It organizes every single event in the game, and it's got these lines that show, like, are color coded to show which characters are in which scenes and when what one's main character appears in, and all these very lexical things. And like basically the character was based off of her, in that the character like comes up with an idea for how to organize the coats, and then like nobody really listens to her. It's well, the guy who created the character based off of her obviously did listen, but the lexical thinker who has all of these ideas that are perfectly or not perfectly, because all lexicons are flawed technically, because lexical thinker is more accurate, or is more precise, but impressionist thinker is more accurate to reality. I'll come back to that, but yeah, I liked seeing that lexical and impressionist thinking in action in game developers. And what I just said about because lexical thinker, they're precise in their words, they're precise in their thoughts, they're precise in their meanings. They think hard about what they're about to say before they say it. I mean, dang it, this is terrible. I'm just gonna, yeah. Call me, call me pessimistic. That wasn't going well. Lexical thinkers are very precise in their words, but at the cost of accuracy, because impressions can be flawed. In fact, they are flawed, but they're more accurate to the truth of a matter. Truth as in the thing that we can't comprehend. As in, like, your impression of sadness is more accurate, because being sad tells you more about what sadness means than a definition that uses words. And that's the purpose of impressionism. It's those accurate, not codified thoughts that tell you the nature of what things are. The thing is that it's hard to understand those impressions because they're thought of by impressionist thinkers who, I mean, it's a statement that disproves itself. It's hard to understand impressions because impressions can't be understood through lexical thought, and lexical thought it's the only way to communicate, really, because I mean, like, impressions, like, when an impressionist thinker speaks, even if they're speaking very impressionistically, like, this is anyone who speaks with impressionistically, with lots of ums and uhs, and they circle around the idea they're getting at, they're thinking lexically. The most impressionist you could get is where you literally cannot communicate any ideas because you don't know any words. Words are lexicons. They're the lexical thoughts. And in the same way that everybody who can talk with words is using lexical thought, even lexical thinkers, everyone has impressions. Impressions are just your thoughts in general, the raw, unfiltered data that's in your mind, the feelings, the logic. Like, logic can come in impressions too. It's but lexical thinkers can definitely sound more logical. I've been going on for a half hour. I'll just finish this thought and try one last time. But I don't know. I was reading the Tao of Pooh. This is relevant, I promise. The Tao of Pooh, it explains like Taoist principles through Winnie the Pooh, and explains Winnie the Pooh through Taoist principles. I wish I could remember. I don't even want to butcher it because I already did just the other day. This amazing paraphrase quote that's I'll just describe how it goes instead of trying to actually uh, paraphrase it. It's from the perspective of someone, and they show their poem to someone, and the person they show it to is laughing about that poem because they say that everything is all wrong about it. All of the meters, I don't know poetry language, the meters, the rhymes, the words are all wrong. But then the speaker says, I laugh at his poems the way he just as he laughs at mine, because his read like a blind man trying to describe the sun. And that's impressionist versus lexical thought. That's the flaw of lexical thought. It's that things cannot be completely accurately described. And not even just words, even just recognizing that things exist beyond beyond what you are experiencing is lexical thought. And it's just not accurate. You can't completely understand something, or it's extremely seemingly impossible, very difficult to understand anything with complete accuracy, because you aren't. It's impossible to completely speak in impressions and communicate impressions to one another. The sun is not the sun. The sun is what it is, and the word sun is our lexical label for that. And it's good that we have these lexical thinkers. It's very, very good that we have this precision and this ability to communicate. I'll finish my thought and then I'll end the video, unfortunately. But it's good that we have these lexical thoughts, because that's what allows us to communicate. Because if it was just impressions, it'd be chaos. We wouldn't be able to communicate our ideas. And even though they're more accurate, we wouldn't be able to communicate them. But impressions are, I would definitely say that lexical thought is more precise. Impressionistic thought is more accurate. And that's my final thought. I've been going for 32 minutes. Jeez.